All right, good morning. We're going to get started this morning with an invocation led by Pastor Ray Griffin of Quail Springs Baptist Church, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Adeline Dines, representing Girl Scout Troop 156. Please stand as you are able.
Father, we thank you for the privilege of another day of life to serve you. In that service, I pray for our city's leadership, Mayor Holt, and these distinguished council members, that you will grant them wisdom, patience, and insight as they make decisions. We pray that you'll be with our first responders and law enforcement as they guide and care for the needs of this day. My mind and heart drifts to leaders who have passed on before us, like my friend, Larry McAtee. And I pray that you'll help us to serve humbly and consistently for others as he did. Thank you for our 75th anniversary as a church in our great city at Quail Springs Baptist. And I pray you help us shine the light of hope and peace that are only found in and through you. In the name of Jesus, amen.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Griffin, and thank you, Adeline. All right, I call this meeting of the City Council to order, and we will start there at item 3, Office of the Mayor, and we have a few presentations to make, and so I will start with Allied Arts and ask our friends from Allied Arts to come to the front. All right, well, it is Allied Arts Month, which comes around this time every year, and it kicks off this exciting campaign that supports our city's cultural community, and we'd like to learn just a little bit more about it, so I would ask the clerk to read this proclamation.
Whereas the arts enhance every aspect of life in Oklahoma City, contributing to economic development efforts, enriching quality of life, driving tourism, and exerting a profound positive influence on the development of youth. And whereas youth arts education helps to foster imagination, self-expression, discipline, and creative problem-solving skills, while also helping our city's young people find their unique voice and path in life. And whereas since 1971, Allied Arts has served as the champion of Central Oklahoma's cultural community and has provided nearly $95 million to support Oklahoma City's arts agencies. And whereas the month of February is recognized annually as Allied Arts Month by the City of Oklahoma City, local businesses, nonprofit groups, and the community at large in recognition of the organization's vital support for our cultural community. Now, therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim February 2025 to be Allied Arts Month in Oklahoma City.
Thank you. Well, we would be remiss if we did not thank Allied Arts for bringing Serafina Bird to perform for us this morning, and for all the things that Allied Arts does in our community to improve our quality of life. We are joined by members of the team, led by Sonny Kearley, as well as the co-chairs of this year's campaign, Jeff and Sally Starling, and I think we are expecting some profound words from Jeff. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Nothing like setting expectations. Well, Mayor Holt, council members, thank you for having us today. On behalf of my wife, Sally, and on behalf of Allied Arts, thank you for the proclamation. Allied Arts has been an organization of stability for now 54 years in the Oklahoma City area. $95 million contributed to arts education, arts organizations, many of which here were in Oklahoma City. Just last year alone, the Allied Arts annual program that Sally and I are chairing this year, engaged over 3,500 individual donors, many of which here are in Oklahoma City. 167 workplace giving campaigns, many of which are here in Oklahoma City, and contributed to 48 agency arts organizations, many of which are here in Oklahoma City. So we're very delighted and thankful to have the proclamation from Oklahoma City. I think it recognizes quite poignantly the work that this great organization does for this area. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's hear it for everybody at Allied Arts. Actually, you got to speak. We'll give that to Sal. There you go. Thank you all. Thank you all. All right, let's bring our Heart of the City team up here. So Heart of the City, of course, is a long-running initiative that we do here at the city. Our city staff who give of themselves to this community every single day, I mean, obviously are already part of a daily mission to improve the lives of our residents. On top of that, engage in the Heart of the City campaign and contribute financially towards many of the nonprofits that also assist our city. And so we'd like to hear a little bit more about this, and to that end, I would ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Heart of the City is the annual fundraising campaign during which department coordinators inspire and rally employees of the City of Oklahoma City to raise funds for local charities. And whereas Heart of the City partners in this effort with Allied Arts, CHC Creating Healthier Communities, the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma, and United Way of Central Oklahoma. And whereas the 4 partners of Heart of the City play an essential role in the campaign's success, working alongside the city and supporting more than 100 local charities that serve people in need. And whereas during the 2024 Heart of the City campaign, city employees raised $589,347, exceeding the goal of $550,000 by more than $39,000. And whereas Heart of the City Chair Laura Johnson loaned executives Lieutenant Bridget Shin and Carl Curry and department coordinators including Beth Crounce and Barbara Rivas Lopez organized more than 80 events and rallies to engage employees in the fundraising efforts. And whereas this year's campaign included 385 leadership givers, each contributing $500 or more. And whereas through contributions to the Heart of the City campaign, city employees make a meaningful impact by helping those in need, feeding the hungry, supporting a vibrant arts community, and funding critical medical research. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby extend sincere gratitude and commendation to city employees, loaned executives, department coordinators, and nonprofit partners for their generosity, dedication, and hard work in making the annual Heart of the City campaign a success and helping to make Oklahoma City a better place to live.
Thank you. Well, I think what's really remarkable about this, not all of this money goes to the United Way, but a lot of it does. And I mean, $589,000 is a significant percentage for one organization to do in what is ultimately a $17 million campaign. I mean, the city employees really carry their weight in this community, and they do it every day, but to do this on top of their daily service to our residents is really remarkable, and I'm glad we're honoring it today. And in fact, we are honoring it. This is a resolution, so let's pass that real quick before we say anything more. If we could get a motion. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. I wish to vote aye. Passes unanimously. Laura Johnson was mentioned in the resolution as, of course, the chair of the campaign. We'll have more to say about Laura in the weeks ahead because Laura is nearing retirement, so this is your last Heart of the City campaign. Maybe we can get you to come back as a volunteer, but Well, we'll put that on next time agenda for that resolution. But we would love to hear a few words from you, Laura, and again, our gratitude, especially to you, because this isn't your first time to do this. You've been doing this for a long time, and obviously quite successfully. And whoever takes this on next year has got some big shoes to fill. So, Laura, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, and the resolution mentioned this, but this campaign would be nothing without the people who help with the city, the people from the United Way who help. They are our administrator. They make sure to vet all of the agencies. I know that Sunny is here with the Allied Arts. That's one of our federations. We also have a food group and a health group, and really, we're very proud of our city employees. You know, if we were in the private sector, the company could make a big contribution, but we don't do that with the city tax money. This is all money that's provided by our employees from their paychecks, and so we couldn't do it without them. There are almost 40 people who work as coordinators, and thanks to all of you who are here today, but everyone couldn't be here today. And these people work tirelessly with their time, treasure, and talent, and go out and really encourage our employees to participate in this campaign as a payroll deduction campaign. So really proud of them. We have a great campaign cabinet. Chris Browning is here from that. And LaShawn Thompson will be the assistant city manager who will be our upcoming campaign executive sponsor. And LaShawn is as dedicated to this as I am, so I know that the event will continue on. This is almost as good an employee engagement event as it is a fundraiser, so we really welcome the opportunity to give even more to our community than we do in our regular work.
Yeah, very good. And you mentioned we've got Sunny here from Allied Arts. We also have a team from United Way. They're all kind of down there. Good to see you here. Do we have any other of the federations here? No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so everybody else you see up here is either United Way, Allied Arts, or city employees. So thank you all so very much for what you do for the people of Oklahoma City. And let's hear it for our Heart of the City team. There you go. Yours to keep. Thank you all. All right, Gerard. Well, Gerard Robinson, you are our City Employee of the Month, and we'd like to learn a little bit more about your work at Embark, and so I would ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Gerard Robinson has served as a city employee for almost 2 years and is a full-time bus operator in the Public Transportation and Parking Department. And whereas Gerard goes above and beyond his duties, offering assistance without being asked and providing valuable guidance to fellow drivers to enhance their skills and safety. And whereas Gerard exhibited exceptional composure during a traumatic event while operating a bus, ensuring his passengers remained safe and preventing fatalities, and afterward returned to duty with resilience and continued excellence. And whereas Gerard has completed extensive training and actively contributes to the professional development of others by sharing his expertise. And whereas Gerard exemplifies outstanding customer service, leadership, efficiency, and safety in his role, setting a high standard for excellence in transportation services. And whereas this council wishes to recognize Gerard Robinson for his unwavering dedication, professionalism, and commitment to providing safe and reliable service to the community. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Oklahoma City that they do hereby thank and commend Gerard Robinson, February 2025, South Oklahoma City Kiwanis Club Employee of the Month.
Thank you. Well, Gerard, we're very grateful. I joked with you before. I mean, you've only been with us 2 years and you're already the Employee of the Month. We got nowhere to go from here, oh, nice. Maybe mayor, he says. Okay, all right. That's coming on strong. That's all right. I like that. I like that ambition, Gerard. That's great. Well, you're doing a great job, and we're so glad that you're representing us. In fact, we've got, I was just working on this the other day, we got transit appreciation coming up, and obviously You're a big reason for why we appreciate our transit employees so much. This is a resolution. Let me make sure and pass it. So let us get a motion for that. Got a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. I wish to vote aye. Passes unanimously. Well, Gerard, thank you again for your service, and we'd love to hear just a few words from you. The floor is yours.
I'd like to thank everybody, especially my supervisor, Francesca Beals, for my nomination. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mayor Holt. And thank you, Ida Smith, for what you do. And thanks to my boss, Jesse, over there, too. So that's about it.
All right, thank you. Let's hear it for Gerard. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right, thank you. Okay, next up is item 3C, still under Office of the Mayor. So this is a resolution naming the Maps for Animal Shelter, which we will break the ground on Thursday, the Oklahoma City Louisa McCune Animal Welfare Center. The resolution explains the significance of Louisa McCune's life and especially her service to this particular project, which I think those of us who were here in 2019 are well aware really would not have made it into the Maps for program if not for her advocacy and the advocacy that she inspired in others. And we tragically lost Louisa last year to cancer, and immediately proponents of the animal shelter were saying to me and to other members of the council that it would be most fitting if this new Maps for Animal Shelter was named after her, and I think everyone readily agreed. And I said even that week that this is what we would do, and we would probably do it right before the groundbreaking, and so we are. I know that there's several members of the council up here who would have liked to have been co-authors. I think so many that we might have made the municipal councilor nervous about the Open Meetings Act, and so I decided to just go ahead and put it on Office of the Mayor. But I know that many people up here are very supportive of this, and we look forward to kind of sharing it more broadly on Thursday. We're probably not making too big of a deal of it publicly today, but on Thursday we will certainly do that at the groundbreaking. I don't know if there's anything else that anyone else wishes to say. Otherwise, we could take a motion. Okay. Let's see if we can bring up that opportunity. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Items remaining are all appointments, all pretty much reappointments, I think. We've got items making reappointments to, or no, this is a new appointment, Community Public Safety Advisory Board, and as well as Maps for Citizen Advisory Board, Game and Fish, Maps Investment and Operating Trust, Park Commission, Plumbing Code Review, and Trails Advisory, items D through J, and we could take them with one motion. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, now we're at items from council, and there are none today, so we'll go on to item 5, City Manager reports. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Zach Craig is here, the president of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, just to give a quarterly report, and appreciate Zach and his partnership and work with us.
Thank you, City Manager. Good morning, City Council. Good morning, Mayor. Always great to see everybody and give you a brief update on really our focus at Visit OKC and what we've been up to over the last 5 or 6 months. I want to start the presentation off today a little bit different. The first 2 slides really is a summary of a conversation that I've recently had with colleagues across the nation that are in our destination marketing organization space. If we roll to the first slide, you know, we had we have somebody. There we go, perfect. So we roll to the first slide, thank you. So we roll to the first slide. I think everybody here knows, it's evident that our job primarily is to grow the visitation economy. But we do that, I think this is the key, the residual effects of why we do that is the most important thing. There's a few things on this slide that were great reminders from those conversations that I had, and hopefully they're good nuggets for you as well. One of them we've already mentioned with arts today is quality of life. When you think about the landmark hotels, the distinct neighborhood districts, maybe your favorite restaurants, maybe some of the cultural attractions that continue to pop up here in the city of Oklahoma City, a lot of those really rely on the visitation economy for sustainability. I really think about our future and probably that these attractions and that ecosystem is going to rely even more so on the visitation economy for years to come. We looked at the bottom of the screen. You can see attracts and retains talent. And we do that through bolstering a community brand. This bar graph to the right from Longwoods International really highlights the importance and the impact as it relates to positive advertising messaging, coupled with actually getting somebody to come to a community and the propensity for one of those people to actually move here or relocate a business here. It's really powerful research. I'll give you a real example of this that I witnessed over the last 2 months. I was privileged to be on 2 selection committees on 2 separate nonprofit searches as we were trying to identify our next leader for those nonprofits. 3 of the 5 candidates that we actually flew in for the in-person interviews had actually been here on a recent visit. So over the past 4 years had been here. 2 of those candidates had been here for a convention. 1 of those candidates had been here for a sporting event at the convention center with their family. I am convinced that those visits are one of the reasons why they put their name in the hat for those jobs. As we go to the next slide, I wanted to reflect really on something that Dr. Russell Evans mentioned about a week and a half ago at a chamber meeting. He was talking about really the top job sectors for future growth here in Oklahoma City and the Oklahoma City MSA. Number 1 was healthcare. Number 2 was the visitation economy. So it just underscores that, the visitation economy is certainly important today, but it's going to continue to grow over time. And then finally is certainly the tax receipts that we receive on a state level, on a local level. What you see up here is a pie graph of 2023 results as it relates to the city of Oklahoma City and the receipts that were received to include $85.4 million of city sales tax that was received that year as a result of the power of tourism. And I can't wait to watch that number grow over time. Let's go ahead and kind of switch gears a little bit as we go to the next slide and talk about some of the tactical efforts that our team has really embarked upon over the last couple months. One of them is launching a tool called SkyNav. And as we roll to the next slide, just want to share a little bit about this feature with you. It's an online virtual tour. It's complimentary. Obviously, we use it to inspire leisure guests, events, conventions, prospective conventions to come to Oklahoma City. But I think it's a great tool really for anybody that's recruiting or trying to create visibility for the city of Oklahoma City. Really highlights a lot of the things I've already spoken about. So if you haven't seen this yet, go to visitokc.com. At the top right, there's a little widget that says virtual tour. Click on that and anyone can use that. As we go to the next slide, I really wanted to commend some of the efforts that our PR team has been responsible for, specifically over the previous 4 months. It started with pitching a Spanish publication called El Diario, which is based out of New York. They've got a syndicated publication across the United States. We hosted their travel editor for 3 days, and they wrote this beautiful article in Spanish about us that hit about 2 million unique circulation. There's some other notable, really highlights of our pitching efforts that's up here from notable publications. The other one, though, I just want to mention, because it's kind of hot off the press and probably hitting households right now, is the February edition of Southern Living. We pitched them and hosted them. They wrote a beautiful article about our celebrity chefs, some of our restaurants, and our distinct neighborhoods. So if you haven't seen that, please go get your hands on the February edition of Southern Living. Switching gears again, as we go to the next slide, I want to highlight some of the activity that we've done recently as it relates to conventions and events. Up on the screen, what you're going to see at the bottom is really a great win from our sports team. It's called Lone Star Volleyball's Classic. As the name implies, we relocated it from the state of Texas. We booked it in December. It'll be here next April, over 3 consecutive waves of weekend activity. Each wave will usher in and welcome about 12,000 visitors to Oklahoma City. They're going to fill both the Bennett Center and the Convention Center with volleyball courts. I think Adam, Liv, and Blake right now, we're up to about 40 hotels that we're working with to try to create this tremendous economic impact that you see up on the screen. The first bullet, I want to go back to that because it was a fun one, and we're really, really grateful on this opportunity as well. And that it's another opportunity that we've relocated from the state of Texas, and we just booked and solidified Mary Kay's convention for July of 2027. This program spans over 2 weeks. Each and every day we'll have 2,000 visitors here. They'll be at the convention center. It's an incredible opportunity, and I've got to thank Sean publicly, Leslie, and Mandy for all of their work on this. This is a snapshot to the right of us and the clients on the rooftop of the Omni, and it was a great experience. We actually customized the site experience for them, and we truly painted the town with Mary Kay pink that evening with our brilliant lighting features here in downtown Oklahoma City. They were impressed, and as you see, even one of our news outlets was impressed as well. As we go over to the next slide, and I think the final slide before I open up to any questions, I've got to thank a majority of you for your involvement over the last 9 months in our strategic planning process. I believe that you all recall that we contracted with a company called the Coraggio Group. They came in and spent a lot of time with us, did a lot of phone interviews, specifically did a lot of phone interviews with the majority of you all as well. They've boiled this strategic plan down to 4 buckets, or what we call imperatives. You can see them on the left of the screen, and I'm just going to graze the surface here and give you some highlights. But I'm actually anxious to share with you the full plan, which I think that we'll receive over a matter of days now. But these 4 imperatives really start with amplifying the city's brand identity and really reevaluating where we stand right now and refreshing that brand identity as we move forward. We'll get started on that here in calendar year 2025. The second talks about destination connectivity. Just one example of that is really supplying the needed data and resources to Jeff Mulder and his great team to continue to convince and push for more nonstop flight service here to the city of Oklahoma City. The third bucket is destination enhancement. There's a lot that's packed into this bucket. One thing I just wanted to lift up to you today was the fact that with all these new assets that are coming online, we are truly turning into a major event city. And our push is to really get that evergreen and turnkey over the next couple of years so that even after the short term and some of the major events on the horizon, we're just known as a major event city moving forward. And then finally for you, before I open up to any questions, is really just internal facing stuff, optimizing our operation, scaling, our staff in order to meet some of these goals. So that is just a brief recap of what we've been up to. But with that, I will pause and answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, the one thing I think I'd say, Craig, is Zach, is that there are so many conventions that are coming to Oklahoma City, and then so many groups that are looking at coming to Oklahoma City. And I remember when we opened the convention center, we were worried, is this going to work? How's it going to go? And you know, there's not a week that goes by. Last week, the National Insurance Association meeting announced they're coming to Oklahoma City. It's a 154-year-old association that has never had a convention in the state of Oklahoma. They're bringing 2,000 people to use our convention center, and there are people coming from every state, every United States territory,
Yes.
and many different countries. So
Yes.
I want to compliment your team. I think you guys are doing a great job. I noticed last Sunday, the Oklahoman devoted a section on where to shop, dine, and play this year in downtown Oklahoma City. Well, I can tell you, when I got out of law school, that article would have been about one paragraph. And so we've made great progress. We're really
Yeah.
proud of what you're doing, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman, and we've certainly done it together, and we've done it over a course of 30 years, as you all know, but thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Craig.
it.
Thank you.
Zach.
So we've also got the hotel tax report on here. Typically, don't make a lot of comments on the hotel tax report, but I feel like I should this time because this reflects the increase in the hotel tax rate that went into effect October the 1st. So it ends up being in this quarterly report, it's a 26% growth in hotel tax. Well, it's because we're comparing to a lower rate that we had in the previous year. That we'll continue to see that by comparison to last year through the end of this fiscal year. We are doing a budget amendment today. That's going to be on the agenda later on that will address some of this from the budget perspective to increase the budget to match what our expectations are. But I just wanted to point that out. If you normalize that growth over that quarter, it's still almost 3% growth in hotel tax at the same time that we're seeing a decline in our sales tax. And so I think it really speaks well for the work that Zach and his team are doing, and then our hoteliers throughout the community as well. So really having a lot of good activity there. I also just wanted to mention, it's not a report that I've got on today, but I just wanted to acknowledge our city employees that during last week's winter weather and the difficulties there, we don't do this every single time, but it was extremely cold weather and it was just really difficult time. But to acknowledge, you know, we think first of like our public works employees that are out there on the streets that are helping to clear our streets, particularly on those snow routes, and the work that they're doing around the clock and working overtime. Just really appreciate that. But utility workers are out there in that extreme cold dealing with water issues and getting those repaired. We have parks employees that are out there. We recognized one of our drivers today that we have our embark drivers out there and they're going every day regardless of what's happening with the weather. And so can't name all of our employees, but there's just, we were working it and just estimated there's probably about 1,000 employees that are out there. Police and fire are out there every day also in difficult situations. You put them in this situation, it makes their jobs a lot more difficult to keep us safe and to protect us. And so just wanted to express my appreciation that I know all of you feel as well to the great work that our employees do every day, but particularly when we get into those harsh circumstances and difficult circumstances. So I just wanted to express my appreciation there, and that's all that I have.
All right, well, thank you. All right, item 4, Journal of Council Proceedings. We've got items A and B we could take with one motion. We've got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 7, request for uncontested continuances. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything?
Yes, we have a couple of items. Starting on page 14, item 11K1, unsecured structures. These items will all be stricken from the agenda. Item C is 1951 Northwest 12th Street. The owner is secured. And then item D is 131 Northeast 16th Street to rework is dilapidated. Then continuing on page 14 to item 11, L1 abandoned buildings, item C, 1951 Northwest 12th Street. And that's all the items that I have.
Okay. Item 8, revocable permits and events. Item 8A is a revocable permit with the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation for the 2025 Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon on April 26th and 27th. And we've got Lynn Porter here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. It's hard to believe that we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the bombing and the 25th anniversary of the Memorial Marathon. April is usually a very difficult month for a lot of people, so the Memorial Marathon adds a way to have a little bit of a celebration of life, while we still remember those who were killed, those who survived, and those changed forever. This year, we're expecting over 25,000 runners over the 2-day period. So on Saturday, we have our kids marathon, senior marathon, and 5K, as well as on Sunday, we have a half and full marathon, but we added a quarter marathon this year, and it will actually go through Automobile Alley, which we used to end at. So that's kind of a great celebration, and also a way to kind of bring it back to the way that it was. So we are excited. All of the proceeds go to benefit the Memorial and Museum, so we continue the mission of hope and resilience and to teach the senselessness of violence. So we are really excited for everyone to participate. It takes thousands of volunteers plus the city's help to make this come to life. So we appreciate all of your help.
Thank you. Well, this impacts several wards, so anybody is welcome to jump in on this. 2, 6, 7.
I'm happy to move for approval.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We look forward to
Great.
it.
Thank you, and hope to see all of you out there.
Thank you. 8B is revocable permit with the Riversport Foundation for the OCU-UCO scrimmage, March 8th and 15th. And we do have a couple people, Jimmy Francis and Tricia Downey.
Good morning. I am Tricia Downey. I'm the National Events Manager at Riversport. Today, I'm here to request exclusive use of the Oklahoma River in order for the University of Central Oklahoma to hold scrimmages. Now, Riversport generally has an exclusive use annually, but it's a Monday through Friday permit, and March 8th and March 15th are Saturdays. So it's important to have exclusive use because a fishing boat with a motor can cause a wake that will cause a little ruckus on our rowing boats, and we are having out-of-state teams come in, so we want to put our best foot forward and just have that element of safety on the river. So now I'm going to introduce Jimmy Francis. He is the head coach of the University of Central Oklahoma rowing team.
Yes, hello. Interim head coach of University of Central Oklahoma. So the teams that are coming in on March 8th, it will be Tulsa and K-State. And then on March 15th, we'll have Milwaukee School of Engineering come and race us, and Creighton as well. So having these teams come in is fun, and it's really, really fun to show off what we have. I mean, if you guys have not seen the race course that we have down there, it's phenomenal. I mean, I've been a rower for a long time now, and I've raced in Bulgaria and Poland and all that stuff, and Oklahoma City. You guys, it's awesome. So for you guys that help us out with everything we do down there, we appreciate that. Any questions or anything that I can help out with?
There are no questions. I certainly am excited always for what's happening on the river, and I'm glad to see you here as interim head coach, and so I hope that you become the head coach. So fantastic. I'll move for adoption.
Very good. All right, we have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll recess council and convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority, where we have items A through K we can take with one motion. For motion and a second, cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCMFA and convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, where we have items A through C we can take with one motion. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCPPA and reconvene as the council, where we are on item 9, the consent docket. And there's one scheduled presentation for item AQ, and that is it. Is there anything else that a council member wishes to pull out for separate comments or vote?
Yes, Mayor, just to hear an update on the following two items. Y,
Okay.
and then AF is in Frank. Apple Frank. Thanks.
Okay. If there's nothing else, we could start with item Y. Councilman James Cooper?
Yes, this is a pretty significant project across 2 wards, so I just wanted to let the public hear a little bit of an update on where we're heading here. Please.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Debbie Miller with the Public Works Department. Item Y is for the Deep Fork Trail. This is our final change order before we finally accept Phase 1, Phase 3B, and Phase 4. So we still have remaining in design 2 more phases before the entire trail will be complete. But we're excited to get this phase completed.
So we're still looking in terms of a completion date, and then I know there's still some pretty significant missing parts of it. Where are we at with that?
We're in design on those 2 phases.
Okay.
We are working with some property owners to get the alignment set.
Okay. And then this current work that's underway, when are we considering that to probably begin?
It should be substantially complete. Substantially complete where it is accessible. And I believe that we set the phases to where you had a trailhead at each end so you didn't get stranded in the middle of the trail.
So when would our residents start being able to use parts of this? Are we waiting till the whole thing's done, or?
No, I believe we should be able to start using that soon. But I can find out what the exact date is and let you know.
Okay. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
And then item AF, Councilman James Cooper?
Yes. The May Avenue Bridge. Would you mind telling us a little bit about where we are on that work, please?
Yes, this project is in design. This is a 2017 bond project that is also being funded through ACOG funding. We are in design. This amendment to the A&E contract, engineering contract, provides for them to investigate some beautification, possible trees, maybe some form liners on the outside of the bridge to make it more attractive and beautiful.
Is this also, they're wanting, we are replacing the bridge, right?
Completely replacing it.
So there's no possible, like, looking at, because I was looking at, when we were looking at this on Friday, the language here was that it may include rehabilitation of the existing bridge, like we're studying that.
There's a reinforced concrete box that's just was within the footprint for Cloverleaf Creek that they're having to take a look at. So whenever we do the bond projects, it's rehabilitation, which does include replacement.
Okay. And so we're still looking at start time is next year, 2026.
Yes, this will be a project with the federal funding that will be bid through ODOT, and we expect it to be early in 2026 for them to do the bidding.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the presentation for item AQ.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris York, our Budget Director, will present this budget amendment for fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you, City Manager. So this is the introduction to the first budget amendment of fiscal year 2025. We do expect to probably have one more before the end of the fiscal year. It impacts a number of funds, and I'll try to just run through those quickly with you. Starting with, if you'll allow me to skip around just for ease of communication, starting with the Hotel Motel Tax Special Purpose Revenue Fund. So voters approved that increase from 5.5% to 9.25. The city manager spoke on this a little bit earlier today. We're expecting to receive about $9 million additional dollars than what we projected without the increase for the remainder of the year. And so this is a budget authority increase to expend those funds on the approved purposes for the tax dollars, such as tourism and visitor programs, as well as improvements at the OKC Fairgrounds and Oklahoma City Convention Center. And again, that's right at $8.9 million. Jumping down, we also have an increase to the Oklahoma City Tax Increment Financing Fund. And this is related to state contributions. They're matched dollars given from the state for TIF projects for the Dell and Omni Convention Center. The increased request is $2.95 million, and the revenue source is those state matching funds. The Oklahoma City Tax Increment Financing Fund is really a pass-through fund. Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust is the one who manages those funds for us, and so we have to receive those first to a city fund, and then we pass them over to OSED. Jumping down to the utilities fund, we have an increase there of $1.2 million, and that's for responses to water line breaks. We've received more of those this year than in the prior year, and so we're needing to increase our expenditure budget for things like asphalt, crushed rock, materials to respond to those repairs. Now I'm going to circle back to the remaining funds, and I would categorize all of those as capital purchases for our public safety departments. Starting with the fire sales tax fund, which you will see a companion item later today for the public safety sales tax portion of that. There's an increase requested of $6 million, and that's going to include things like defibrillators, self-contained breathing apparatus, and remodel funds for Station 15, as well as construction costs for fire stations. And fund balance is the revenue source for that increase. Likewise, for our MAPS 3 use tax fund, an increase of $967,000 is being requested, and that'll fund additional capital purchases at our multi-agency command center, as well as our mobile radio site. And it will also include police vehicle purchases in the amount of $892,000. Again, fund balance is the revenue source for that change. And then finally, we have the police and fire capital equipment sales tax with an increase of just over $1 million, and that's going to fund a fire search and rescue vehicle, as well as some fire dispatch consoles. And again, fund balance will be the revenue source for those. All in all, the increase today is $21.2 million, and that will bring the city budget to just over $2.03 billion. Again, this is the introduction, so we will bring it back to you for a public hearing on March the 11th. And with that, if you have any questions, happy to try to answer those.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
That concludes the items under the consent docket that had been pulled out, so we can adopt it now, if there's a resolution to do so. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, that brings us to the concurrence docket. We have item 10. We have items A through L. We can take with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11, items for individual consideration. Item 11A is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 715 East Grand and 700 Townley from R1 and AE2 to I2 and AE2. Councilman Lee Cooper, no one has signed up to speak.
Is the representative here?
Good morning, David Box, 525 Northwest 11th Street, here on behalf of the applicant. Sir, would you mind going to the zoning map? So this is an application for I2. It follows other similar applications in this area. This area is trending very much industrial. PUD 2007 is one that we just came in with just a few months ago for I2. The large R1 tract to the east is actually a I2 application that's working its way through Planning Commission right now, was recommended for approval by Planning Commission 2 weeks ago.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. There's a home on the southwest corner of the property. The buffer, how many feet buffer is that? And any mitigations needed for that?
Yeah, so the code would require a 15-foot buffer and then a step down in height, site-proof screening, and all of those things.
Move for adoption.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
Thank you.
Passes unanimously. Item 11B is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 3031 Northwest 150th from PUD 1726, PUD 678, CUP 36 to PUD 2048. Councilman Stone Cipher, no one has signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This is to allow residential development. The Planning Commission approved it with 2 technical evaluations, and there were no protests. So at this time, I'd move for its approval, please.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11C is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 11301 North County Line Road from R1 to PUD 209. Councilman Carter, no one has signed up to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, subject to the summary of technical evaluations, I will also move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11D is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 1 Northwest 102nd Street from 02 to SPUD 1669. Councilman Lee Cooper, no one has signed up to speak.
If there's no one here to speak, I move for adoption.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11E is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, rezoning 3420 North May from C3 to SPUD 1682. This was deferred from February 11th. Councilman James Cooper, no one has signed up to speak.
Yes, but you're gonna, aren't you? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name is Rob Elliott, Elliott Architects, 900 Northwest 6th Street. This is a SPUD request to align an existing building or existing business with the zoning criteria. It's the medical marijuana business that has a processing license, and we found in the approvals they're going through with the state that the zoning was not compatible with their operation. It had been approved by the city and the state for prior years, but in this certain certification, we found that the zoning was incompatible. So this, it's a C3 district. We are bringing in a light industrial use as an accessory use and excluding some of the other uses in the light industrial category. And so it's kind of pinpointing the marriage of the extraction process to the zoning classification. There were technical evaluations that all the TEs were agreed to in terms of separating and buffering the use from the existing residential to the east. Hopefully, we can approve it.
Thank you. And the reason why I deferred it, you might recall, is I wanted to go out there and see it for myself and understand, because this literally, if you look where they're rezoning, there is an actual house right next to that, right? And then you're in Venice neighborhood. And so I just wanted to better understand what the production looked like. And I really appreciate the tour because it's very safe. There's a lot of safety measures that are happening in there and a lot of thoughtfulness in those measures. I was very impressed with what you all are actually doing. And I was impressed with, in terms of your engagement with the neighbors who live around you too. Like they know who you all are, and that seems like a good neighborly thing. So just wanted to say thanks for the tour, much better understanding of the technology that you all are using to do this work. It's quite sophisticated and a bit above my pay grade, I'll tell you. But I just wanted to appreciate the tour. So I thought I'd move for approval.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Councilman James Cooper, did you want an emergency on that?
So much. I was just reminiscing on what civic engagement looks like over here. It sure was. But yes, thank you, Mayor. If we could move for an emergency vote on that, because we need to get them their permitting.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the emergency on item 11E.
Aye.
Cast your votes. Passes unanimously and with the required supermajority. All right, 11F is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, rezoning 4516 Grant Boulevard from PUD 813 to SPUD 1696. Councilman Carter, no one is signed up to speak.
Ms. Patel, are you here?
Yeah.
Good morning, Purvi Patel with Wallace Design Collective. The address is 410 North Walnut. This is a request just because the current PUD that governs the site was approved in 2002 has a height limit of 50 feet and 2 stories. And THP, Total Health Partners, owns a building just to the south. They want to expand to the north and add a 3rd story. It will still be under 50 feet. So the reason for the SPUD was to increase the height limit for this site only to 3 stories and 50 feet.
Thank you. Just wanted to let you know I did get your messages. I did reach back out. I don't know why we misconnected, but I wanted to let you know I've spoken with THP as well. They've been great partners and friends over in that area, and we'd love to see what they continue to do. So I'm going to move for approval.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes.
Thank you.
Passes unanimously. Okay, item 11G is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, rezoning 3331 Southwest 104th from SPUD 1652 and AE1 to SPUD 1698 and AE1. Councilman Hinkle, no one is signed up to speak.
Nobody's angry about a brake shop, so I'll move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Maybe? Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11H is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, establishing a special permit to operate use unit 8250.15 moderate impact institutional in the AA district found at 10901 North Sooner Road. Councilman Lee Cooper, no one is signed up to speak.
Just want to say this is Oakdale School, and just excited about what's happening with Oakdale schools. So I move for adoption.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11I is an ordinance on final hearing, closing and vacating portions of the east-west alley in Block 36 of Maywood, near Northeast 6th and Walnut. Councilman Lee Cooper, no one is signed up to speak.
Move for adoption.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11J is the public hearing. 11J1 is the public hearing regarding the dilapidated structures here listed. Amy, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, they haven't.
They have not, so we'll advance to the resolution found at 11J2 declaring that the structures are dilapidated. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11K1 is the public hearing regarding the unsecured structures here listed, except for those previously struck. Amy, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, they haven't.
They have not, and so we will advance to the resolution found at K2 declaring the structures are unsecured. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11L1 is a public hearing regarding the abandoned buildings here listed, except for that one previously struck. Amy, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, they
They
haven't.
have not, so we will advance to the resolution at L2 declaring that the buildings are abandoned. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11M is a public hearing regarding the amending the June 18th, 2024 resolution approving certain fire, listed, and other sales tax expenditures. Amy, has anyone signed up to speak under this public hearing?
No, they haven't.
They have not, and so we'll advance to the resolution at M2 to be introduced and set for final hearing on March 11th. I think we do have a brief presentation.
Quick presentation. This aligns with the budget amendment that you approved or you introduced earlier. Excuse me. Chris York, our budget director, will present the changes.
Yeah, just as a reminder to our residents, this is the companion item to the budget amendment. To spend public safety sales tax dollars, there are some additional steps that we need to take. In addition to approving the budget amendment, we also need to specify where those dollars are going to be spent down to a project, also referred to as an exhibit level. So we have to be a little bit more specific with it via a resolution. So the $6 million increase that's being requested here does match the budget amendment. When we put those down into projects, we have increases in Exhibit B, which is our firefighting our firefighting tools and equipment project. That will purchase defibrillators as well as self-contained breathing apparatus. We also have an increase of $1 million to our fire technology project, which will be for the purchase of a computer or for the upgrade of the computer-aided dispatch system. And then finally, we have a $2 million increase down in Exhibit J, which is for fire station construction and remodel at Station 15, as well as other new construction projects. All in all, again, that brings us to $6 million. We'll bring this back to you on March 11th with a public hearing.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, well, if there's no questions or comments, we can introduce that resolution. Again, the final hearing would be March 11th. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Okay, introduced unanimously. 11N is a resolution adopting the City of Oklahoma City Vision Zero Action Plan. There was a presentation at a previous meeting on this. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Just a couple of comments. One, I want to recognize the Vision Zero planning team and our leaders in the planning department, as well as our partners with Kimley Horn, and the work that they've done on this plan that just sets that lofty goal of reaching zero fatalities, ultimately, and zero serious injuries on our roadways. And the recommendations that are in this plan accomplish this through capital projects, through changes in standards and policies, as well as education to help us get there. It's something that gets incorporated into our bond planning and will be incorporated to projects going forward. So I really appreciate the leadership here and the council's support in adopting this to move us forward.
Great. Well, if there's no other comments or questions from the council, we could take a motion to adopt the resolution. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 01 is a resolution authorizing and directing the municipal councilor to enter into an agreed settlement and journal entry of judgment in the Canadian County District Court case of City of OKC v. the Lynx at Mustang Creek. Executive session is not requested. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item P is an executive session on advice of the municipal councilor to receive confidential communications regarding Ten Luke property v. City of OKC. We can take the vote and then handle that at the end. The motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously as stated. We'll handle that executive session at the end of our other business. Item 12, comments from council. Ward 1.
Yes, sir. I just want to echo the city manager's comments about our employees and the Public Works Department, the water utilities that were out last week, especially in the sub-freezing weather. I know we had a lot of residents that were affected by the water main issues as well as businesses, and they did a great job just working around the clock, overnight, getting things taken care of, especially when it was so cold. And I'd also like to really take a moment to thank everyone who is involved with our homeless outreach teams that work tirelessly around the clock as well to get people off the streets or get them life-saving equipment to make sure that they were able to brave the weather and to do what was necessary in that. So thank you.
Thank you. Ward 2.
Thanks. Well, first, I'd like to invite residents to join me this Friday at Bookish in Ward 2. It's a used book and art store. They're at 1005 Northwest 36th Street. They do a movie night on Friday sometimes, and the movie Candyman, we're going to screen that. Early 1990s film, and I'll go this far, y'all know I'm a horror person. It's the only movie to ever scare me. I was 10 when I saw it. Terrified me, truly. It took watching the sequel 2 years later, which is not as good, for me to go, oh, okay, it's not so scary, right? It took a bad movie to kind of get me there. But we're gonna watch it, and we're gonna have a conversation about housing and the history of housing segregation. The movie, they shot that film in the public housing in Chicago known as Cabrini Green. And how they actually filmed it, I'll never know, because this was at a time of intense gang warfare and drug use in that public housing. So the movie is actually a commentary on that legacy and that history. And so we'll talk about that. It's 7 p.m. doors open, and the movie will start at 7:30. You're in for a treat. The great composer Philip Glass does the score, if you can imagine. On this note of Bookish, just a brief little story. I went there to go take a photo to do a promo for the event, and I ran into one of Councilman Hinkle's constituents, Jeremy, who uses a wheelchair to get around. He'd come there to purchase my book. I was very flattered by this, but couldn't get into the store because they didn't have the appropriate ADA accessibility. There's these steep stairs I'm staring at right now on my screen. And the book was sold out too. Thankfully, I had some books at home. And I said, well, I can ride my bike I want you to think about this for a moment, from Northwest 36th and Western, where Guest Room Records and Bruno's Furniture and all that is, that's where Bookish is. I was like, Jeremy, just give me a couple moments. I'm gonna ride my bike, so I'd been biking that day, to Northwest 28th, where I live in the Paseo. No, James, he says, and this is a young man in a wheelchair who had used the bus to get from about Southwest 100th Street to get downtown to the transit center to connect to the BRT to get off at the BRT station at Northwest 36th and Classen. Good. Follow that. Imagine being in your wheelchair and getting on the bus from 100th Street, South Side, getting downtown, transferring onto the BRT. So far, so good, public transportation, right? When he got onto Northwest 36th, he then headed east to Western, and then just about a half block east to Bookish. He said, no, James, I actually want to walk with you. I want to walk with you. I walked beside him with my bike as he navigated by wheelchair from Northwest 36th and Crown Heights Park. We thankfully were able to use the new sidewalks in Crown Heights Park from the bond in 2017. That was our way through, right? Then there's the MAPS 4 sidewalks, thankfully, that we put on Chartel. Some people fought us on those, by the way. And I'll never forget walking beside Jeremy on those sidewalks and being grateful for the neighbors in Crown Heights who said, no, we need these, and advocated for them, and we got them. We then, stay with me imagination-wise here, because I really want you all to think about how some folk are using sidewalks, not just for recreation, but literal connectivity to the city, through the city. When we were on Chartel, leaving Crown Heights Park, and we took the new MAPS 4 sidewalks heading south up to Northwest 36, do you know what ended? the sidewalk. And the sidewalk ends before the intersection. So there's no ADA ramp for Jeremy or anyone in a wheelchair or mobilized device, right, to literally get down to cross Northwest 36th Street. And I said, well, what do we do? And he goes, well, we're gonna double back. So we went back down the sidewalk to the park, got on to Chartel, and this young man in his wheelchair rolled up Chartel to 36th Street in the bike lane. There have been people who have sent emails to this office, my Ward 2 office, saying, we don't need sidewalks because we have bike lanes over there. Tell that to Jeremy is what I will now be saying to everyone going forward. And he just did it too. Then we crossed 36 into Central Park neighborhood, one of Ward 2's historic neighborhoods. Fits and starts where we were on broken sidewalks, in the bike lane. There are residents, by the way, who have literally put boulders in the public right-of-way, to prevent people from walking where sidewalks should be. Jeremy noticed it, and he just couldn't believe it. He was just truly shocked. By the way, Councilman Hinkle, he had never really been into Ward 2 before he told me. It was so cool to actually hear him like describe his experience. He was so grateful for the BRTs, very grateful for your service and your advocacy. We kept going because we had to get to 28th Street. Thankfully, there are new sidewalks. I don't want you to think this is a bad story. There are new sidewalks on Chartel because of MAPS 4, and he got to use those. And it was just so incredible to see someone who had never been in the Paseo use those sidewalks to navigate it. Along Chartel, where our founders, our city founders are buried. He'd never been by Fairlawn Cemetery before, but those sidewalks allowed him to do that. Then we went on 28th Street, where I live, where there are no sidewalks yet. MAPS 4 will bring them, but they're not there right now. So I watched this young man in the middle of the street, right, make his way to where my fourplex is. Got the book. Then we were able to show him Paseo's streetscape, and that was not just an aesthetic thing. That was a way for him to finally navigate safely around that district. It was an incredible thing to witness. I asked him if I could film a little bit of our walk when we got to Walker. And I didn't really film him, I filmed his feet that were on the wheelchair and the wheel, because I wanted to see the infrastructure. Walker Avenue, my God, from 28th to Uptown at the pump, brutal, just broken, elevated, horrific. In his wheelchair, the rattle of those wheels as he tried to make his way south on Walker. Why was he going south on Walker? The reason wasn't just to come get my book from Bookish. He was meeting a friend of theirs for their birthday at Formosa in Uptown. I don't know. I've been a bit broken, if I'm honest, lately, because I do get emails from people who tell me things like, we don't need these sidewalks, or that sidewalks are just, if anything, they are just there for people going on like a nightly walk or a morning walk with their dogs. And that's not it. That's part of the story. Sidewalks are about literally people being able to navigate the city of OKC. And seeing someone go from the far south side of our city using the improvements of bus rapid transit, only to find themselves having to play hodgepodge, right, was devastating. But what was so great about Jeremy is he never complained. I mean, he complained, he told me what the complaints were, but he was so proud of the improvements. He complimented when I asked him, where do you feel safe navigating our city? He said his neighborhood, so Councilman Hinkle feels very safe in his neighborhood, downtown and Bricktown. So the improvements that we've made down here are incredible. He's gonna come talk to my class next week. We're watching a documentary called Crip Camp. For those of you who couldn't be there with my journey, there's a documentary, Crip Camp, C-R-I-P, Netflix made it. And it's the history of the ADA movement and the folk who went to this children's camp at a time in the 60s when no government at any level cared one iota about people with differing abilities, just nothing. Go ask the Nazis what they did to those folk. They didn't care about them at all. They weren't worth it, and we weren't thinking much better about them. But the young people who went to that camp became the people who later, in the early 90s, put their literal bodies on the line, taking themselves out of their wheelchairs on the stairs of Congress and pulling their body step by step up to get up to advocate for George H.W. Bush to go on to sign the ADA. So he's going to come talk to my students about the documentary that they're watching and give them his experience of navigating the city, the good things we're doing, but the work we still have left to do. So thank you for letting me share that. It's why stuff like Vision Zero is so important. I'm really glad that this council is making those steps towards those quality of life improvements, because our people need to be able to move around our city to connect to recreation, education, and employment. So just wanted to take some time to walk you through what that experience was like for me on Sunday, and it was an interesting South Side, North Side moment. So thank you.
Thank you. Ward 3. Ward 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple items I want to discuss real quickly. One, I would like to share my congratulations and appreciation for the Chickasaw Nation on the opening of the O'Connor Resort. What a fantastic facility. I think it's going to be great for our city and great for them as well. So again, I would just like to thank them for that. The other item that I just wanted to address real quickly, I wanted to share. Over the previous weekend, received a couple of comments in regards to the new jail location out on Grand. And you know, when we started having some of those discussions originally, one of, if not the biggest item of concern was that Crooked Oak owned the land next to the proposed new jail site. And they're going to build their new athletic facilities there. And we all realized, hey, that's really close. It's really not good. But the county had kind of, I don't know that they ever voted for it, but individual commissioners had kind of, I know, shared with Crooked Oak schools, as well as different members of council, they were going to do a land swap. And that was going to take care of the issue. So I congratulated them on that. But this weekend I've heard that now they're not doing the land swap. It's not going to happen. So Crooked Oak Schools is now in a very tough position where they originally purchased this land. There was never any discussion of a jail there. Then there was discussion of the jail. They had the land swap discussion. And they had passed a bond to build these new facilities, but they've had to put it on hold, waiting for the land swap to happen. Now they're being told it's not going to happen. So I just wanted to share that. I know Attorney General Gettner Drummond, approved the site, the location, but I also hope that, he's watching for changes that are being made that don't make it quite as feasible as perhaps he had thought. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ward 5.
I'm going to add to James's Jeremy story. I really met Jeremy the night that he showed up at my community engagement, my very first community engagement meeting at the South Library at 119th and Penn. So we have a library in Oklahoma City that has 0 sidewalk access within a half a mile anywhere around. And so Jeremy leaves his apartment at 100th and Southwestern, just south of Westmore High School, and he winds his way through a neighborhood, and it dumps him out on 134th Street, mid-block. And if you don't know 134th Street, it's a 55-mile-an-hour highway. And so for the last half mile, he has to roll at dusk on the shoulder of 134th Street to get to the library to come hear what's going on in his neighborhood. And I couldn't let him roll home in the dark, so I picked him up and we rode home in my truck, and I really had a great conversation with him. And he actually works for Embark, which is awesome. Talk about a resource. but you see him all over town and he won't take a ride. I mean, he just prefers to roll, and he's such a great guy. So if you're listening to Jeremy, I'm glad you and James hooked up. So that's it.
Thank you. Ward 6? Ward 7? Ward 8?
I want to echo Todd's comments and thank the Chickasaw Nation for the tour they gave us of the new resort and indoor water park. It is an incredible facility. We are blessed to have that in Oklahoma City at the crossroads of I-35 and I-40. It will bring a tremendous amount of visitors to Oklahoma City. If you haven't seen it yet, there was a great article in the Oklahoman on Friday that has images of the new park and also has ticketing information, how you can buy tickets and go use the park. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that. And again, thank you to the Chickasaw Nation.
Thank you. That concludes comments from council. There are no citizens who have signed up to speak under item 13, so we will now go handle the executive session provided for at 11 p, and then we will return. Thank you. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. We are back from executive session and at item 14, adjournment, and we are adjourned.